righty. What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. How's everybody doing? We can see your screen. We can see your screen. Yeah. Can you see the screen now? You got it, bro. Yeah. Sounds good. Awesome. Absolutely. So let's get started. It's Wednesday. I'll tell you right now, I am fighting a horrible head cold. So we'll get through what I didn't want to cancel just because I know I've got some travel coming up for volleyball. So I will most definitely not be doing a lot of the weekly calls, but it is what it is. Volleyball season's coming to an end. We're getting into the regional semifinals, getting on to the state run. And hopefully we'll be done in, I think at the end of November is when we're done. But yeah, absolutely. Let's get started though. We have a little bit of news coming out going into the end of the week. And then of course, next week, we've got some inflation data and whatnot, but I kind of want to go over, talk about some of the stuff I'm looking at. And yeah, if you guys have questions, I'll definitely go through them. So first things first, we saw a lot of data coming out of the ECB. Yesterday, PMI came out. It was kind of a mixed bag. Really, when it comes to Euro PMI, it really doesn't move the dollar. It doesn't move the euro, right? Everything right now is being moved on the shoulders of the dollar. And, as I've kind of been echoing over the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about the bond market, specifically the 10-year and the 2-year treasury notes. Those are really the benchmarks for what analysts are saying the Fed is using to determine whether or not they are going to pause in 2 weeks' time, actually in a week, now. So next Wednesday is going to be the Fed decision. And I'm pretty much banking on a pause. I think we're seeing the end of the Fed's hiking cycle, and the consensus amongst everything that I've been reading is that the Fed is just going to rely on the bond yields to continue to start to contract the U.S. economy and getting this inflation issue under control. That's really what has been the driving factor. And with inflation, obviously, right, there's a lot of stuff that are, almost like a snowball effect to what the inflation woes are. We're seeing a tremendous amount of increase in credit utilization. We're seeing, obviously, with interest rate hikes, credit is going to cost you more. Ultimately taking money out of the consumer's pockets. And when you think about what an economy does, the economy is driven on the backs of the consumer. If the consumer no longer spends money because they don't have it, well, there's your recession, right? And, I feel like there's been an ebb and flow of tides with whether or not the U.S. is going to see a recession or not. By definition, they've seen a recession. By practicality, they haven't. So the U.S. economy is still very resilient. The labor market is still very resilient, but we're starting to see little speed bumps getting hit on it. So, we'll kind of talk a little bit of that when we get into the dollar and into Euro USD. And of course, getting into indices. I've been continuing to short indices. Realistically, I'd say that the entire month of October, minus maybe 2 trades that I've taken on currencies, have all been really dependent on indices, NASDAQ, US 30, and SPX shorts that I've been kind of taking on them. So, but we'll kind of go through some of the stuff. We talked about this PMI coming out of ECB. We talked about inflation data, right? Consumer price index coming out of the Australian dollar. The ultimate catalyst for them, and again, the RBA has already emphatically said that they are done hiking rates. So the inflation data really isn't going to be problematic towards whether or not strength is going to come into the Australian dollar. What is going to be the catalyst to see whether or not we get Australian and Kiwi strength coming back in? Anybody know? Anybody know what is going to create the catalyst for the Australian and Kiwi pairs to start to really I guess, turn a leaf because they've been selling off for almost 3 years now. China data. Yep, China. So what is some of the big China data that has recently come out? Anybody? It was in Bloomberg's today. Anybody see it? Yeah, we'll see if this doesn't get flagged, but I mean, it was a very, very important piece of information. Hold on, let this come on. Their economy is doing better than expected. No, more important than that. More important than that. So think about that statement you just put. Their economy is doing better than expected. What is the expected Chinese economy forecast? Would you say that it's operating above average or above par? Because I would say the contrary. I could say that their economic outlook is actually in contraction in regards to what their I would say start of the year outlook was. They did a deal? No, they didn't do a deal. Well, I guess you want to call it a deal. You could call it a deal. We'll get down here we go, policy shift. Right here. The key is this. There was a series of policy moves to boost sentiment in the economy. President Xi signaling that a slowdown in growth and lingering deflationary risks won't be tolerated. So what do you think the Chinese government does if this does not work? Do you think that is an ultimatum, right? I think where was it? It was an unprecedented visit to the central bank of China, which is one of the world's most heavily regarded currency manipulators in the world, right? So we can potentially see, for all those people in the BRICS, we can potentially see a devaluation of the Chinese yuan, right? But yeah, this for me is extremely important because I start to read things like this, and then I start to see some accumulations with buyers coming into the market on AU and NU. And for me, that is starting to build a bias, specifically if you think about institutions. And of course, I'll look at Friday's COT reports and then looking at next week's COT reports. Yeah, absolutely. Stimulus. Yeah, I mean, this right here, signaling that a slowdown in growth and lingering deflationary risk won't be tolerated, is a form of stimulus, right? Because that's ultimately what they ended up doing, right? They unveiled a sovereign debt package. They marks a shift from its traditional growth model. So what they're planning on doing is increasing that growth. So for me, that's very, very important, right? So yeah, this is something that, if you're not paying attention to some of these fundamentals, I would definitely encourage you to. All right. This has helped me tremendously over the years, really buckling down on the fundamentals. So we saw that coming out of Australian dollar. We'll look at we'll look at AU, right? We'll look at NU when it comes to that. The ECB focuses on the CBDC. Okay. Is that a statement? Is that a question? Or is that I don't even know what you want to call it. All right, I'll let you give a little more context into that. Okay, and then we saw today Canadian dollar. I was a little disappointed. I was kind of hoping for a UCAD buy. She didn't come anywhere close to my limit order, but we ultimately said this morning I was looking at them staying at the 5%, and that's where it came. Their test phase is done with it. What do you think about that in the future? Their test phase is done. I don't care about CBDCs, bro. I'll be honest. Let me ask you a question. The majority the majority of transactions that you conduct when you make purchases, are they physical cash or are they digital? Meaning, are you using credit? Are you using Apple Pay, Google Pay? Are you purchasing online with a credit card? Are you ultimately carrying physical cash? Digital. All right. So, yeah, what do you care about then? All these central banks, sure, CBDC, that's fine. It's not going to change anything. Yeah, they're not. Don't think that they're going to make their own Bitcoin. They're not. It's not going to be a digital asset unto itself. It's just going to be a digital version of its intended currency. So yeah, that's all it is. Just a new name. Exactly. What about analysis on gold? All right. Give me when we get to gold, but I'll give you some time now. If you can, and I've been saying this for weeks, if you can give me some insight on what's moving the gold markets. And the answer isn't uncertainty in the Middle East, right? But if you can give me some idea on what's moving the gold markets and why ETF prices and demand are at all-time lows, yet the spot value price is increasing. And then we'll do an analysis on gold. But I can tell you from my standpoint, I can give a crap about gold right now. I'm not trading it. Where can I learn more about fundamentals? I would start with like an economics book. Learn about economics, learn why money moves, and then go from there. I mean, everybody knows like my route. I ended up wanting to learn a little more. So I got a master's degree in it. I already had a bachelor. So the only real way for me to get a little more formal education into it was to get an MBA. But not everybody needs to do that. I'll tell you right now. I mean, yeah, it was nice. It was good to learn really about, economics and global finance and everything like that. But I've got a piece of paper hanging in my office that I'll never use. So, yeah. Do you have any books you recommend? No, just Google them, man. All right, let's, So we have Bank of Canada. We'll talk about a little of the Canadian pairs. Nothing really wowed me out of the Bank of Canada, especially their press conference. I mean, it stayed the same. Going into tonight, right? These weren't huge speeches, right? I mean, he was, Powell was just speaking at a little conference. Lagarde was doing the same. So nothing major really is coming out of it. And the one thing, the ECB did say, right, was that their inflation fight is not over. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Every central bank wants to get inflation down to 2.5%. So I don't think anything really is shocking the market at this point. What we are going to wait for, though, is tomorrow morning's rate decision. And realistically, I could potentially see them coming in at 4.75, giving a 25 basis point. I could see the ECB doing that, and I can see the Fed pausing. So with that, I've been bullish Euro USD for the past maybe like 2 weeks. And that's going to further increase my bias for bullish EU temporarily. And, obviously a dollar pullback. So that's kind of what I'm eyeing off of this. And going into obviously the final day of the week, we have some PCE price index that's really going to help move, the index markets. I'm really going to pay attention tomorrow morning on what they're saying. I don't think anything's really going to, shock the market. They're hawkish as can be. They need to get inflation under control, much like the Bank of England needs to get, inflation under control. Again, I wouldn't be surprised with a 25 basis points, and this comes in at 4.75. And like I said, if that is the case, right, EU will appreciate in price, and that's kind of what I'm kind of gearing for. What's also rigged? the education. How come? Yeah, how come? Because they have to. Oh man, we're okay. Sounds good, man. I'll give you the thumbs up emoji later. Alrighty, sounds good. All right, moving into next week then. Um, we do have a tremendous amount of data, right? We have BOJ is going to finally give their shenanigans. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a rate hike in their future, maybe a 5 basis points, something like that. But I'm very curious to see. I'm not interested in trading any yen crosses at all. I've been saying this for months now. And if you take a look at what some of these yen crosses have been doing, 1 minute freaking 200 pip moves, giant manipulation. The Bank of Japan has openly acknowledged that they off the cuff have purchased and sold bonds, which has really shocked their bond market. They've also sold a ton of US Treasury bonds, which has kind of fueled what's going on in the Treasury market. I have no desire to do anything with the Bank of Japan. And then, of course, the big thing for me is going to be coming into Wednesday's FOMC right here. So we do have we have jobs reports coming out of the NZD. We have a bunch of other data. And then, of course, we have the pound next week giving their rate reduction, or I'm sorry, their rate hike, because I'm pretty confident that they're coming in at 5.5. So it potentially over the next 2 weeks is going to be a good sign for a pullback on the dollar, meaning some appreciation on some of these dollar crosses, right? That's ultimately what I'm going to be looking for. And so let's get into it because, well, hold on. Okay. This dog's going to bark because the girls are getting home, but it's all good. All right. So on the dollar, this is what we have, right? We are in a active distribution. What I'm most definitely looking at is where dollar is now. I just want to see us tonight going into tomorrow's rate decision. I want to see price start to distribute up here. Now, I don't necessarily, this is not a line in the sand for me. This entire move right here is just maintaining our order flow leg. But I do like the distribution we got specifically with a Frankfurt into a London shakeout, gave us the UTAD, and then we broke lower. So I do like where we are with dollar here. And where that translates, obviously the dollar is driving this. EU is not as high, or I'm sorry, not as low because it's inverse correlated to where the dollar is, right? This is where I kind of wanted to see EU really do something, was in this area. We had that divergence in that Frankfurt and London sweep. So I would like to see if we can trade a little bit lower on EU and ultimately just start to do the same thing we see here, right? Asian price action really just start to consolidate, give us the accumulation, and then give us that pop at Frankfurt, London to then take it higher. And then potentially with rate decision coming in about 15 minutes after New York Open, whether or not we'll see price give us a pullback to take this higher. Ultimately, I'm looking to target new highs on Euro USD. And yeah, I mean, it's about 130 pip move from where we are currently. Last time I checked it, let's see, it is 129 pips. So exactly where I was looking at it. Okay. Did you take anything on EU this morning? No. Yeah, no. I mean, we'll look at it, but nothing even came close to giving me any confirmation to take a buy. I try to take a reaccumulation. and lower. Yeah, so it gave you Pac-Man. Yeah, there was absolutely, you didn't even have a completed accumulation. So how could you take a reaccumulation? Yeah, I mean, I'm not done with this quite yet. I'm still waiting to see what she does. Um, but yeah, let's see. We'll take a look. Where, yeah, where were you trying to take a buy out of? I mean, you're still in accumulation here. I was waiting for a sweep of this. Like if we would have swept this and then broke, I would have taken the mitigation to go higher with it. But we didn't do anything with this. Yeah. I mean, I mean, you've got a type 2 accumulation. That's all you have. Unless I'm missing it. Now, could we still sit here and then do this and then break and then come back and do this? Yeah. Yeah, we could. Ideally, my main focal point, because dollar's driving it, is I want to see the dollar really start to distribute here until I see ultimately, and we potentially could see it tonight, right? Something like this tonight. And then at Frankfurt, London, we get our UTAD, we get the break, and then potentially ECB rates comes back to mitigate to then take this lower. That's the game plan for me. That's how I want to ultimately take it. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? Everybody understand? And again, we look at the bigger picture. We're an active distribution, right? We are in active distribution at this point. And I'd like to see if we can get a pretty decent pullback on the dollar. My anticipation would be that she's either going to come down into this area here or come back and mitigate this move, something like that. Right. So this is going to be the 2 points of areas where I want to see if I can take the dollar down into. And then conversely, just like that on EU, I'm going to look for the same, right? I want to see, there we go. I want to see, do we react when we come back up into here or out of here? My honest opinion is I'm pretty sure that at that point, we're going to break the high. Fundamentally, this will take us into probably the end of summer, maybe even going into the fall next year. So this is what tried taking this on EU out of New York. Oh, okay. So what kind of accumulation do you have here? You thought it was a type 2. All right. So let's validate it. So that's your climax to your rally, right? That's your climax to your rally. Where's your next secondary test? And if we think about it, phase B is what? What happens in phase B? What is orders are getting filled? Yeah, yeah, right. So buy orders are getting filled. Buy orders. So where is your first secondary test? Where does that occur? I'm pretty sure you can annotate on the screen. Yeah, you can. So where's your secondary test on this? Okay. And how come? Why is that your secondary test? I guess it wouldn't be since it doesn't even go to the bottom. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, where do they want to fill orders? They want to fill orders at the bottom of the range, right? So, but even if it, I mean, just look at the price action. So, buy orders getting filled. So, what kind of reaction do you want to see after a buy order gets filled? You want to see evidence of large orders getting filled. Is this right here evidence of that getting filled? So that's my SC. There's little reaction. It doesn't look like there's volume. Nope. So that's my SC. This is my secondary test, right? I can see the buy orders that came in, right? And then ultimately, what do we have? We have now a secondary test in phase B, because what are they doing? They're filling more orders. And then look at the reaction we see, right? So is this a type 2? Yeah. This whole thing is a type 2 for me. I don't trade type 2s, right? I have a low winning percentage on type 2s. So this is why for me, I had this morning, everybody that was, we were looking at E this morning, I had the alert down here. I boxed this out, right? I wanted us to get the spring, give the break, come back to mitigate. This was my test. This was my entry. Take it up. That's ultimately what I was looking at. But yeah, we didn't see that. We didn't get it one bit. So that's why I kind of just sat back and did nothing with it. So you need a complete accumulation before looking for a reaccumulation. Well, think about that. If you are in a market cycle, don't you need the first part of the cycle to happen before you can go to the second part of the cycle? So yeah. And then obviously just look at the price action that you saw here, right? So we know that this is a redistribution, right? We know that this is the test of the redistro. And then what does price do here now during New York session? After we accumulate here, we now distribute. And we distribute in supply. So for me, I was done looking at this point, because there's unless I moved my alert up to here, unless we broke this high and we invalidated supply, there was no reason for me to look for a buy out of this here. And when you look at what dollar was doing at the same time, all this was just the pullback, right? You can see, here's my alert here on the dollar. I wanted to see if they were actually going to accumulate in London's price action, and they accumulated here. So there's really nothing for me to take out of this price action. Like this for me, from Asian session on down, this is buyers in the market. Look at effort here, and then look at effort of your sellers here. So yeah, I mean, that's for me. That's why I ultimately, once we left, like I said, I had it boxed out. Once we left the area without a spring, I was done looking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you got it. All right. So I am going to be looking for EU buys tonight, but I need to wait for this accumulation to happen. So, ultimately what I'd like to see is, pretty much like what we've been seeing on this, right? I want to see this right here happen somewhere over here. That's what I want to see. We get that, perfect. Even better if we get a little bit of divergence between EU and dollar. So EU is something I'm going to be looking for. On looking at, we'll jump over to, I'm really not interested in much with GU. GU is just sideways, man. There ain't nothing for me to do with GU here. So I'm really not doing much with it. I'm not, these limit orders aren't active anymore. Yeah. At this point, what do we do? We've potentially redistributed if we break this low to come into here. So I'm not 100% sure on what GU is going to do. We could be just in a larger accumulation, right? Eventually this is going to go bullish. I just don't know how long we're going to be here. And much like I talked about ACAD over the last 3 weeks, I have a really good feeling when things are going to be ranging for a while. So we have, a 1 drive, a 2 drive, potentially a 3 drive, maybe even a 4th drive, and then we go up. And this right here will put us like end of November. So I'm just going to kind of sit back and wait on GU. On NU, so I am still waiting for price to come on up, right? I am still waiting for price to come on up. Nothing really changes on the bias. I'm not trying to sell it from where it's at. I don't care about this little redistribution here. For me, we're getting to the point now where I need to start asking myself, is this a larger accumulation and this is just my terminal spring? And the reason I'm asking myself that is because of what AU is doing, right? When it comes to volume, AU has way more volume than NU. So when we look at what AU is doing, let's hide all this shenanigans. There we go. AU is really starting to show me that there's potentially buyers coming into this market, and it's really going to be dependent on what they do here, whether or not this actually comes out and breaks this high. So like I said, are sells still warranted on AU? Yeah, absolutely. But at this point, I would rather, from my personal account, I would rather sell something that is a little more advantageous to me, right? So like ACAD, right? The short on ACAD out of the 80% that I've been waiting on for forever is a way better trade for me than something on AU, where we are potentially ending the bearish cycle, or starting to see the end of the bearish cycle on something like AU. So, AU, NU, I'm kind of just going to be sitting back waiting. I'm not 100% sure on what we're going to do yet. When we come here, we can see a potential even shakeout happening and maybe coming down like this, something like that. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on what's happening quite yet, but I know that they've spent some time here, right? All right. So that's kind of my game plan with AU and NU. I'm sitting back. I'm just going to wait. I haven't really touched a lot of these Australian and Kiwi pairs in like 3-4 weeks. And when you think about it, what have I missed out on? Nothing. I mean, this thing has been sideways now for 22 days. So for 22 days, this thing has just been going sideways with really no clear direction other than potential buyers coming in, because we are seeing, when it comes to effort, right, we're seeing buy orders, but then we get sell orders, and then we got buy orders and then more buy orders. So, really, I want to see if this ends up coming out. Is this actually a sign of strength, or is it just the shakeout to take it lower? Realistically, I'll treat it as a shakeout and then hedge in the buy, and then kind of let the best man win. That's how I'm going to attack it. Looking at some other dollar crosses, UCAD. So UCAD this morning, I tried to take a buy out of it. Man, this stupid thing just didn't even flutter. I mean, this was a 49 pip move out of news, and that was it. So this is still applicable. I'm still looking for buys on UCAD out of here. Just keep in mind, this is not a line in the sand for me, right? So this is just simply my SC. We can come back into mitigating this area down here. This is what's maintaining our order flow leg here. And that's it. So can we come down here and accumulate? Sure. Realistically, I don't even see this happening tomorrow. This may be a Friday, maybe even a next week play, but this is ultimately where I'm looking at taking entries out of UCAD to target new highs. Both of them are, for me at least, within my risk tolerance. Off the 50 of what I'm looking at, it's a 1 to 12, and then it's a 1 to 33 off the 80%. And all it is just the 1 hour candle that I'm looking at right in there. It's the 1 hour candle of Frankfurt. So that's what I'm looking at with UCAD. UCHEF, we looked at UCHEF this morning as well. And this is realistically what I'm looking at here. So we kind of broke it down, kind of looked at what the possibilities of, kind of getting into a short on this. So obviously, if we just redistributed, I was going to play the redistro. If we come back into our last manipulation, which is this London manipulation redistro that ultimately led us into the accumulation we're in, I'll look for price action out of a distro here. And then, of course, what's maintaining our order flow leg is this right down in here. So coming into this move, this is the 80%. If we do get up here, this is where I'm going to wait for my distro as well. So I am going to be looking for shorts, especially with all the data coming out of the Swiss bank, right? The Swiss bank is what drives UCHEF. It's not the US dollar. So, we're going to get positive. Well, I mean, it is positive data out of the Swiss franc. And by default, that means that UCHEF is going to be continuing to the downside. And then, of course, further in a weak dollar, that's just going to exacerbate the shorting off on UCHEF. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. So UCHEF, pretty simple. I talked about UCAD. I think that's all the dollar crosses that I'm looking at. Again, talking about some of these Australian and Kiwi pairs. This stupid thing came in last night into news. And again, it's all about the patience, right? Like we came back here. This was October 3rd. We waited 21 days for this stupid thing. 21 days. And she finally came in on the 21st day in 13 hours. And from that reversal off the 80%, she's already sold off 88 pips. And my anticipation is it's going to continue down and make a new low. So how do I work in an entry here? For me, it's going to be play the continuation move. I'm simply just going to be waiting for redistros. And, maybe we get something tonight like this. We get the break and we get a mitigation. I'm taking it down. Right. So I'm simply just going to wait for an accumulation, let that accumulation shake out, confirm the redistro, and off to the races I'm going to go. All right. On NCAD, so on NCAD, we definitely, obviously, because it was Australian news, we didn't get a huge reaction. But ultimately, what I'm going to be waiting for here is just the break, right? Just the break. I will trade NCAD off ACAD's point of interest. So if we do get a scenario where I can play mitigation, I'm going to play, simply when we get into a point of interest on ACAD, I start to see a distribution on ACAD. I can also take a look at NCAD. If I start to see similar price action, I'll go ahead and attack it from there. All right. So ACAD and NCAD, that's what I'm looking at. And the other one I'm looking at is ECAD. So on ECAD, no, we're a ways. We are a ways. ECAD, I'm looking up here. So we get up into this area, but that's 200 pips away. So we'll talk about that when we come up there. ECAD's one was, you're looking at EA and EN. Oh, wow. So, yep, she came in. Anyone catch this move? I don't know if you would have. I don't know if anybody actually would have been entered. This happened right at news. She came in to the T off that 80% though. What is it? Let's see. She came in. Nope. There we go. She came in right on that 80. Can you go deep on US 30 short term and midterm? What do you mean deep on US 30 short term and midterm? I don't think there's a reason to buy US 30 if that's what you're asking. Wow, wow, yeah. That wouldn't have been too shabby. Anyway, all right. So yeah, this happened last night. It is what it is. At this point, same thing like ACAD and NCAD, continuation moves. So I'd be looking for continuation moves. This is moving off the Australian dollar at this point, not off the euro. So I would be looking to target new highs, and I'm guessing EN did the same exact thing. Let's see. Oh no, EN actually took that low out. She didn't come all the way. This is where I was kind of hoping we were going to see EN come back in once we took that low of order flow. But yeah, EA looked pretty decent. Okay. All good. All good. Yeah. So currency wise, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at buys on EU. I'm going to sit still on AU and NU, but I'm looking to short UCHEF, looking to short ACAD and NCAD. And of course, I'm looking to buy UCAD. So those are the big things I'm looking for the rest of the week. And then on indices, continuing to look to short them, right? We look at what's going on here on we look at what's going on here, and the short from last Thursday is sitting at a 1 to 27. And obviously you can kind of see we had a redistro this morning. I was hoping to catch the redistro. We just never got it. So at this point, I'm just going to play mitigation of this move here. So what I'm going to be looking for, and I don't think we're going to see it, but it is what it is. We have a new redistro here, and there's our 50%. Realistically, I'm still going to wait. I don't know if it's got it in it to make it past here, but ideally this is going to be a really good focal point if we can come back into premium there. But I am going to look at coming potentially back into New York's price action from today. So I will, let's see. Yeah, I would like to see if we can come back and mitigate the redistro. Keep in mind earnings, right? We've had a tremendous amount of earnings: Microsoft, Google, Netflix, Apple, IBM. We've had a tremendous amount of tech specific earnings reports this week. So that's where the volatility really has kind of triggered itself. All right, sorry, I had to turn off my gaming computer. Yeah, so that's where I'm going to be looking for. There were really some good trades on NASDAQ over the last like 3 weeks. So if you need something to back test, I would definitely encourage you. I'd encourage you to give it a look. So let's see. Yeah, I'd encourage you to give it a look out of what we did up here and what we did out of here. I personally didn't take them, but I did catch this one here. Oh, my mouse kind of slipped. I did catch this one here. So, but they gave some really decent price action trades. And they're all, I mean, you can see I only trade during New York session when it comes to NASDAQ and indices. So give that a look. On SPX. So SPX gave some really good trades too. I did not get into an SPX short today. I was looking for shorts all day long. The two trades that I am in are sitting at, let's see, this one here is sitting at a 1 to 29. And the one from Friday is sitting at like a 1 to 54. So if you get the chance, like I said, back test Thursday and Friday of last week. And I'm going to be looking for the same exact play as NASDAQ out of here. We are in a redistribution. So I would be looking to see if we're going to come back and mitigate this or this. So this is kind of where I'm going to be waiting on price action, sitting right in there. I probably will, depending if the R to R is worth it, have a limit off this 80 up here, off just the manipulation, the UTAD. Let's just see if it's, I don't know if it's, yeah, it's going to give me the 1 to 5. So yeah, it's a 1 to 8. So I will have, coming into market tomorrow, I will have limits off the 80% of the manipulation. And then, yeah, I'm just going to continue to short these indices. I mean, we've been shorting them for a minute now. I do like the price action we're seeing on it, just walking it down. And then let's see. Yeah, okay. And then on US 30, same thing. So I did take a loss. I think it was Thursday. I took the loss on US 30 last week, but I got into the NASDAQ and SPX shorts on them, so it made up for it. And I'm currently sitting in today's short simply out of so what I said this morning was I wanted to see a manipulation, right? So at the open, we don't get a manipulation. We don't take out any highs or anything. It's not until price comes in, kind of dances around, forms a larger distribution, right? 1 drive, 2 drive, 3 drive. And then this is my ultimately UTAD of the micro. And this would be an overall type 2, but it's not really a type 2 because it's not a distro on itself, right? This is the accumulation. This is our ICE. And ultimately what I'm looking for is just some kind of manipulation. The reason I was pretty confident in taking this trade is when price was forming our type 1 distro here, NASDAQ had already confirmed the new low out of a redistro, and so was SPX driving short. So kind of playing, leader laggard. US 30 was our laggard this morning. NASDAQ was definitely our leader. And when you kind of go into the price action during New York, really, really clean type 1 schematic here. There you go. Really, really clean type 1 schematic. We have our climax to our rally, our secondary test, our UTAD. And then how I worked it was I just had my sell stop. I did have a second trade. All right, I just offset the risk. I had a second trade off the 50%, just like this, stop loss at the high. Obviously she didn't get filled. Once we ended up redistributing, this just kind of kept going. So, but I liked it. It was a 1 to 5 to the low. So I was pretty, where is annotate? There we go. I was pretty happy with just taking a sell stop on it. And I did take partials this morning, this afternoon. Took partials once we came in, and I started to see the accumulation in here. I just took some partials. It was somewhere like in here where I took some partials, but I mean, to the low is a 1 to 5. So I took partials probably around like a 1 to 4 is where I took it. I just closed out one trade just to pay myself my risk, and the rest is risk free. So, I really don't care. The big thing for me is indices in the last week. Indices have, and I only risk $125 per idea. So if I'm split risking it, right, it's 62.50, or I might go like 50 and like 75, something like that. But I'll only risk out of one point of interest, $125 on a 100K account. And I could tell you on the 100K account that I'm trading this on my TFT funded account, between Thursday, Friday, and today, I'm up 3.81% is what I'm at. And I'm still holding, almost 50% volume. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at it. I do like shorts on indices, continuations. Overall, my target's going to be right. My target's going to be make this low. SPX and NAS have already done it, so US 30 is going to make its way there. Yeah, so that's kind of my game plan with indices, and we'll see what happens. How do you decide to trigger the sell stop and wait instead of waiting for manipulation? I got tired of waiting for yeah, hold on. Let these dogs bark. I love how they run through my office to go to the backyard. Anyway, I got tired of waiting for mitigations and writing in my journal mistrade because it never came back to mitigate. So that's something I could tell you that in 2023, when I do my year-end review of my journal, that's going to be one of the biggest contributing factors to my profitability increase this year, is incorporating sell stops and buy stops. And I'm not even going to take credit for it. It was one of the guys in my mentorship group that kind of, we were, I don't know, maybe around March, we were doing just a bunch of team training back tests. And, the topic came up because we were just missing a tremendous amount of trades from a lack of mitigation. So figuring out how to incorporate the sell stops and buy stops and the schematics, and then making sure that they were worth the risk to reward. That was the piece of the puzzle that really has helped me with the profitability this year. So do you think we will make it to 32,500 on Dow this month? No clue, dude. I have no idea. No idea. Will we make it to 32,500? Sure. When? No idea, man. This is why I'm not an options trader, because I don't deal with time. I just deal with the price action. So yeah, I couldn't tell you, man. Let's see. Is this not a valid POI for ACAD, or does this not validate as a redistribution to you? So let's see. All right. So let's go back to the original question we asked earlier. Where's your distribution on ACAD? So for me, this would have to be my distro with my terminal. Right? How confident am I that this is the distribution? So if I'm not confident in this as the distribution, why does price have to respect this? So yeah, for me, no, this isn't. I don't care about this one bit. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time. Now, will I, let's say this happens, right? Let's say we come up here, we distribute, and we now break and confirm a redistro here. All right, so now I can confirm we're in the down cycle, and I'll play mitigation of this. But at this point, just look at ACAD for what it is, right? Where ACAD, all right. So let's look at ACAD for where we are currently. And I'll do this right here. Where is demand? Let's go maybe like an hour chart. Where is demand in control of this market from? Let me do it like this. There you go. So where is demand in control of the market from? Do I always have two trades split risk when using a sell stop? Do I always? I don't always. Yep, correct. Yeah. So until we break this, I'm not going to, it'd be one thing if we had a clean distro up here, right? And then we're in a redistro here, right? Totally different scenario. But we ain't got a tremendous amount of anything going on here. And until we break this, I'm not going to even give ACAD the light of day. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till we break this low, and then I'll start being a little more, a little more aggressive with it. Yeah. So I don't always have, a scenario where I wouldn't have to is if the sell stop, and it'll happen on a really lower time frame, is if the sell stop or buy stop is a really nice R to R and a really short or small stop loss based off of it. Yeah, then I won't even worry about the split risk. But I mean, there's times where I'll do the sell stop, the 50 mitigation, and the 80. I'll split it 3 ways. There's some times where I might offset my sell stop to the 80 and then have an 80 entry. So it depends on like the scenario, the price action, and ultimately location where we're at and stuff. But it'll all come down to everything. The decision on the entry, right, is all going to come down to risk to reward and what's worth it. Because an example would be, let's say that the sell stop on US 30 was only a 1 to 2.5. Guess what? There's no sell stop. It's only a 50 or 80 entry. If she doesn't mitigate, she doesn't mitigate, right? I don't work for half pay. So if I'm not willing to risk my equity for half pay, I'm not going to take it. It's not worth it for me. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that's kind of my game plan with ACAD. So yeah, that's let's see, hold on one sec. That is kind of what I am looking at. Can you please explain why you don't take the distro on AU last week? You said there aren't two-prong tests and no major sign of weakness on AU charts. Hold on, let me copy your chart. Was it a type 2? If it's not a type 2, then yeah. So what's the question? The question is, why didn't I take out of here or out of here? Or you're talking about this distro here? You're talking about this distro. Let's see. AU last week. Hold on. Catch up on the chat. What about gold? Yeah. So remember what I asked you before I talk about gold? If you can tell me what is driving the gold markets and the most recent price action on gold, what is the main cause of it? And then we can analyze gold. So are you talking about this distro here? That's what you're talking about? The 50-80 area. So you're talking about this. But what is that? So what are you? So you're talking about playing. You're talking about playing this right here. Right? So this is the distro you're asking about? Okay. So yeah, I mean, distribution do we have there? So you got climax to a rally, secondary test to an MSAL, up to an up thrust to a MSAL, and then you have maybe an LPSY in here. That's it. What has the distribution done? Has it invalidated demand to the left? So we have no manipulation here, right? No manipulation of the highs. So we do not have a type 1. And we don't have a major, big M, major sign of weakness, because major sign of weakness is a exit of our trading range and an invalidation. Bear with my drawing. I'm doing this with my mouse. Invalidation of supply or demand. So one point right here, have we invalidated demand? Is this a type 2? Yeah, I mean, it's not a type 1, right? There's no UTAD. Yeah, there's no UTAD, so it's a type 2. So that's why I didn't play this at all. There's nothing to play. At least for me, there's nothing to play. Type 2s for me. Well, we'll talk about type 1s. Type 1s, I'm about on a really good type 1 with a valid point of interest. I'm probably like 65% winning percentage on those. On a type 2, man, I probably like 14% out of type 2s. So immediately my winning probability drops by trying to play this. So yeah, no, I care less about those. Would this be, or my bad. So this is, hold on. Let's take a look at it. Let's jump up to the hour. So yeah, so I would need this here. So at this point here, now I can call this my major sign of weakness, big M, and it's invalidated supply. I'm sorry, invalidated demand out of here. Yeah, but the problem is we don't have any demand up here that this broke. Yep. When we trade type 2s, then I don't trade type 2s. I don't trade type 2s. You can trade type 2s whenever. I guess follow your own data. Follow what your data shows on your probability of type 2s, but I don't trade type 2s. I only trade type 1s. If it ain't got a manipulation, then you won't see me trading it. Why specifically this sell area? You mean why this right here? Is it holding anything? Sure. Look at it. So we had divergence with NU. NU actually created the shakeout. So what do you have here? Is this not a redistribution? So this is price action from September 28th. So look at September 28th price action. I'm sorry, my bad. Not September 28th, but you know what I'm talking about. Look at the price action. Would we not play this shakeout? This is the shakeout that swept out, that caused the low. We're doing the same thing. we have a redistro on AU. We have a redistro on AU here that comes back in to mitigate the redistribution. So this is holding our market cycle, this redistro up here. There we go. I mean, for demand area. Yeah. So what is the definition of demand area? So that's your accumulation. Is this not your reaccumulation? Is this not your mitigation of the manipulation? And is this not a accumulation to take this higher? So is this your last market cycle before we get to the distro? This is your last market cycle. That's where demand is, or potential demand, right? I mean, we don't know for sure. We can only speculate, but we know that that's the last market cycle. So we can speculate with high probability that that would be where demand is. So this is what would need to break for me to play that. Make sense? You got it. Perfect. So you don't count the upper cycle. What do you mean the upper cycle? Where's the upper cycle, bro? Yeah, there you go. Yep. So here you're in your distro. So if you have no manipulation, you got to wait for price to take out the market cycle for it to be your major sign of weakness or invalidation of supply and demand. Yep. Yeah. Cool. In distro. What do you mean in distro? You got it. Okay, cool. When you say we are going lower on the Dow to match NASDAQ and SPX, do you think it would only sweep previous weekly low or the lows created in May on the Dow? No, I'm expecting like 27K. Yeah, I'm expecting us to come down here. I'm expecting us to sweep that and come over here. Yep. All right. Cool. Anyone have any other last minute questions? If not, I'm going to go take some cold medicine and grab some dinner. I don't think Meta's conference call went too well. It's selling. Is it? Let's see. I would imagine that they're going to be hurting. I would imagine. Let's see. It's not. What percentage is that? Hold on. I don't know if it's that bad. 2.6%. I mean, it could be worse, right? It could be Google at 13. Yeah. There's gonna, like I said, I think tech is really gonna take a hurting in the next couple of weeks. We'll see. Do I think gold is going down? I don't know, man. I asked in the beginning, what's driving the gold markets? If somebody could tell me what's driving the gold markets, because I don't know what's driving the gold markets, man. No clue. I mean, I know the Bank of Japan manipulated the crap out of gold last week. So their earnings were good, yeah, but it's their evaluation that I think is really going to hamper it. I mean, look at some of these earnings that are coming out, and then their stock evaluation is still continuing to drop. So I got a feeling. I got a feeling we're going to see. Who else is left to report? Like IBM was the big one that kind of started the tumble, the snowball effect this afternoon. Yeah. You're always saying to play continuation until proven wrong. So AU continuing to redistro. Why wouldn't you follow? Is it only because of fundamentals? Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot for me to, like, when I write down my list, right? When I write down my list and I say to myself, okay, pros and cons. And I say to myself, at what's a pro at selling AU from where we're at? Oh, I can make money. That's a pro. When I look at, we're still, structure is still supporting this. Okay. And market cycle is still supporting this. Okay. Now my cons are we're in discount, not in premium. We have a shift in China's economy. We have a shift in commodities, which is based off of the Australian economy. Commodities is starting to appreciate. We are starting to build a larger we're starting to build a larger schematic, and I'm starting to see evidence of buyers coming in. So when I look at all this, I ask myself, on my main account for an AU trade, I'm risking $4,200 is my normal risk on an AU trade. Is it worth me risking $4,200 on this now? And the answer is no. Not when I could take that $4,200 and throw it into an SPX sell, right? Or a US 30 sell or a NASDAQ sell. Typically, I'll split if I only like to risk 1%. I only like to risk 1% per day. That's my total risk. So, if I can take that out of AU and put it into something else that I've got a little more, if I have a little more, I guess, probability of success, I'll do it. Please open a chart of gold. Please open. Geez, man. All right. I'll take directions from Bo Chang. Here we go. Please open a chart of gold. All right. Here we go, bro. I got your chart of gold here. What about it? I'm all ears, bro. What do you got on gold? What is driving the gold markets? Because it looks like she broke here and she came into the 80% of that, which is the accumulation that caused this high. And this massive flipping accumulation here looks like she may go up. or maybe she comes down. I couldn't tell you what's driving the gold markets, man. I have no idea. I've looked, I found some information on it, but I ain't trading gold. I have no idea. Yeah. How do you know what's driving a chart? Yeah, you got to look at the price action. Look at the price action. Look at the futures, and just keep in mind that what's driving it on a higher time frame may not be driving it on a lower time frame, and vice versa. And I mean, you can look at a 4 hour chart and a 1 minute chart, and they could be being driven by external forces. And you can be looking at an EA chart and you can say, well, man, potentially the dollar could drive it. You've got to ultimately you've got to look at the price action and see realistically what's driving it. So I'm waiting, my dude. What do you have on gold? So it's the futures that you come to the conclusion. So yeah, I mean futures, it's what's the actual currency pair itself is being moved by. So yeah, yeah. Look at the futures charts. All right, my dude, I'm waiting. What we got? This is XAU, bro. It's the same chart. It's the same chart, my dude. So what you got? I don't have a markup. I couldn't tell you. I told him he's the one that wanted the charts, man. I don't have a markup on gold. I don't know what's driving it. ETFs are demand is diminishing on the ETFs. It's at an all-time low, I think. Spot price is up. So anybody, by all means, what is moving the gold markets? I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. You've got major divergence, I think. Yeah, you do have major divergence here. I would say silver looks like it's going to come down. Yeah, silver looks like it's going to come down. I don't know what gold is doing. No clue, man. All right, man. Now's your time. If you got something you want to talk about on gold, do it now. If not, I'm going to go grab some dinner, man. What you got? Would I take a short on UCAD? Why would I? Why would you want to short UCAD right now? What do you got? Do I have a chart view of Michael Burry's short trade? No, I don't. It's in a point of interest. I don't think it's in a point of interest, dude. What's the point of interest? Yeah, what is the point of interest? From a technical point of view? I don't think so. What's the technical point of view that it's in a point of interest of? Yeah, what's your technical point of view? It hasn't broken. Hasn't broken what? Why is this important? Why is that important? The last leg, the last leg in November of 2022. November 2022. All right, maybe we've got different determinations of legs, man. Why is this a leg? Why is this a leg? When you look at the big picture, all right, you're gonna have to show me the big picture. What's the big picture? We're looking at it here, right? We're on the daily chart. What is your big picture? So what's maintaining bullishness for you? Because I'm bullish on UCAD. We're in bullish structure. So what's well, I guess all right. So what's maintaining bearishness for you? Fourteenth of November. So the 14th of November. 14th of November. The 14th of November. Hold on. That's the 14th of November. Here, hold on. Let me go to a clean chart, bro. Watch this have a bunch of drawings too. All right. So 14th of November is what's holding. The 13th of March is holding the bearish leg. So you're saying that this is holding your bearish leg? Where's the bearish leg that broke bullish structure? So if this is bearish, you had to have broken bullish structure, right? Obviously. So where is the bullish structure that this broke? No, the left side in March 2023. The left side in March 2023. The left side of March 2023. What are you talking about? The left side. So where were we bullish? Now, where were we bullish? We could say that this high, we don't get a new high, right? So that means that you're bullish from somewhere down here. So this break here means absolutely nothing. So how can this hold structure? Like for me, we're bullish from here on the higher time frame. Price comes in and mitigates it. And then we could just follow this up. We're bullish from here. And that's how I see it. So this is not a point of interest for me. The way I'm looking at this is as this is a distribution with a shakeout that is buyer driven, and we are jumping our creek, and we're going to make a new high momentarily. Well, I wouldn't say momentarily, but we'll make a new high eventually. Yeah, I mean, that's how I see it. I mean, like I said, I mean, yeah, if you have a different view on it, I mean, that's 100% fine, but that's how I look at it. Nothing about this is bearish. We're still bullish price action. We're still bullish from here. So looking for a short, we need to make a new low, right? Well, think about that. Are we in a supply point of interest? Is structure bearish? My structure is all bullish, right? Structure for me is all bullish. We're not in a supply point of interest. Actually, to the contrary, I was kind of hoping we'd come a little bit lower into here because this is my SC, my demand area. But we've come into demand. Nothing about this is supply, and nothing to the left for me is supply because this didn't do anything. All it did was get us back in to what is maintaining my structure point and ultimately maintaining this leg. So I'm not looking for a short on UCAD. I'm looking for buys. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to hop off. I've got to run and grab some dinner real quick. Yeah, thanks for hopping on. If you guys have anything, hit me up in the Discord. And yeah, you guys have a good one. Enjoy. I already put up for next week. It's going to be tentatively Wednesday. We're trying to get the volleyball game on Monday night. So that would mean that Wednesday I'd be off. But if for some reason they can't get it Monday and they move it to Wednesday, then it is what it is. And obviously Tuesday's Halloween. So there's definitely no